Welcome to the Aledo Bearcats Coaches Show podcast from Real Country 92.1 Hank FM. Brought to you by H5 Sports Barn in Aledo. Recorded live every Monday night at 7 from the new Jake's Burgers in Aledo. And now, with Aledo Bearcats head coach Robby Jones, the voice of the Bearcats, Kevin Lonnquist.
Go 3rd and 11 at the 43-yard line. Haney on a keep with room to run to midfield. He is gone. 30, 20, 10, touchdown, Aledo Bearcats. No flags, 1:35 on the clock.
And with that touchdown and followed by the two-point conversion, the Bearcats rallied past Denton Ryan by a score of 25-19 to win the District 3 5A championship. And welcome back to the Aledo Coaches Show podcast, coming to you here from the new Jake's on 1187 in Aledo, and hope everyone enjoyed the bye week from last week and now back to work this week. I'm Kevin Lonnquist, joined here by Aledo head coach Robby Jones. And just a couple things, we'll probably be here inside of Jake's for the next couple of weeks just because of how the weather is, a little cold outside. Finally nice to see some real weather come through here as we're starting to look toward November. We should tell you, though, from last week's, or I should say the podcast from 2 weeks ago, since we weren't on the air, we had more than 150 downloads leading up to the Denton Ryan game. So thank you all to contributing to that. And, of course, spread the word to all of your friends about the podcast. You can get it wherever you download your podcast or on the Hank FM website. Okay, Coach, let's get into this. By the way, we should also tell you, too, that in our second segment, the future of Aledo's football program will be with us here. We're going to be joined by super sophomores, wide receiver Kaydon Finley, and running back Ray Gullory, so you'll want to stick around for that. All right, Coach, so let's take a look at 2 weeks ago against Denton Ryan, the 25-19 victory. Ups and downs on the offense. You got off to a good start, obviously, but there were a couple of things that didn't go your way too either. You had the drop touchdown pass in the end zone. You had the misfire in the red zone. And so just what were your takeaways just overall from that game?
Right, we were shooting ourselves in the foot, basically. We, first drive of this game, we go down. We're in a really good spot to go ahead 7-0. We get a false start, backs us up. We end up having to kick a field goal. Then we, started with the first play of the game, really. We dropped a pass on the first play of the game. Then we dropped a touchdown later on. We felt like we played well enough, early on where we could have been up at least 24-0, 31-0, but didn't end up that way. We sputtered towards the end of the first half offensively, let them get back in the game and things that we can't do anymore.
So let's, in terms of that, even though it wasn't what you thought it was going to be, and of course we talked about it at halftime too, saying if they just make a couple of plays here, this is probably not as close as it should be, but was there any part that you saw on your sidelines, or just thinking, even when it got out to a 17-0 lead, that there was a period of relaxing, thinking that this thing was in control? Or what was your sense of where things were on the sideline?
I don't think we felt like, we relaxed or anything like that. We just, for whatever reason, we stopped making plays, and then they started making them. And give credit to Denton Ryan, maybe at the beginning of the game they didn't have the belief that they were going to beat us, but after we made a few of those mistakes, and they caused some of them, then they started, getting a little momentum. They got that momentum. There wasn't really a panic on our side. I never saw anybody on our team think that we weren't going to win the football game, even when we went down 19-17. There was always that belief, hey, somebody's going to make a play, somebody's going to do something for us to go win this football game.
So I want to take you to that spot too, because it had gotten tight. It was 17-13 in the early part of the fourth quarter. You had a 4th and short around your 35-yard line, and you elected to go for it. And I see a lot of coaches who like to try that because you want to seize and capitalize on the momentum. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, but just take us through what you were thinking on that.
No, we had 4th and a half yard, and we got in our basically our goal line package, our big package, when we put Devon in there at the Wildcat, and we felt like we were just going to get the 1 yard that we needed. And then, maybe that would spark our offense to start rolling again. Of course, it backfired on us. Devon bounced the ball outside, and they tackled him for actually a loss. So, it kind of backfired on me there. But, I felt good, going into that play that we were going to go get the first down.
So, and in terms of that, too, because coaches always want to find a way to try and seize momentum, too, because it had been kind of a rocky back and forth. You guys had not scored, obviously, since the first half. And you want to show your team that you can also believe in them and that they can get a first down. They can kind of keep things going too. So I'm sure there's some sort of psychology mixed into that as well.
Right. Yeah. You give the kids, hey, look, I believe in you. We believe in you. We're going to put you out there. Go get this first down, and let's get the ball rolling again. But like I said, it didn't work out for us. Next time we are going to get that first down. It's happened for us. In the past. Going back to, I've been talking to the Lubbock Cooper coach quite a bit. So the Lubbock Cooper game back in, 19, comes to mind where we had a 4th and 6, I believe it was, and we made a big first down run on 4th and 6 late in the fourth quarter in that game. So, it was that type of decision to make. I really didn't want to make that decision in our own end. I'd rather for it been, on the other side of the 50-yard line, but I felt good enough with the ability of our running back and our offensive line to go get that first down.
So let's talk a little bit about as far as, just this defensive performance by Ryan, because I would arguably say that this was probably the best defense that you all have faced all year. Nothing against Denton Geyer's defense, but the way Ryan, how physical they are, and they obviously forced a few turnovers for you guys. But what was the most impressive thing when you reviewed Ryan, what they were defensively, their impressiveness?
Their defensive line. We knew going in their defensive line was really, really good. And so going into the game, and then it proved to be the fact during the game that their defensive line is big and physical and fast. They're quick. They're not just these big guys that can't move. They put some moves on us up front where we were pass setting on, and we didn't hardly touch them. So they were able to get pressure on Haas, which caused some of those turnovers.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about as far as, just that game-winning drive for you all, and I'll get to the defensive stop here in a moment, but that game-winning drive there, and I remember you told Mercedes Meyer, our sidelines reporter, about that in the post-game interview about that draw play. But so for those who may not have heard that post-game interview, what did you all see on that third down play, that you thought, let's do this draw right here?
Well, they were kind of overplaying the three receiver side. So, if Haas broke free and went to his left, which he did, they didn't have but one secondary guy over there. And Kaydon blocked that guy. He actually pancaked that guy on the play. Basically, the main thing we were trying to do right there was pick up, if not the first down, the majority of the yards for the first down to make fourth down more manageable. And so that's why you call the quarterback draw in that situation, is to try and put yourself in a good situation to possibly go for it on fourth down, pick up the fourth down. But, it turned out, to be a really big play for us. And Haas, with the ability that he has to run with the football, took it to the house.
Reminiscent of last year, too, at Ryan, with the 87-yard touchdown run that sealed that victory last year.
Right, and similar to the deal. We had three receivers to the right on that play as well. So, we set them strong one way, and then we hit them with the run back to the weak side.
And the one thing I was thinking about, too, days after this game, is the fact that, you all had so much been in cruise control in a lot of these games. Justin Northwest pushed you all a little bit. You didn't get the resistance from Burles and Centennial that I think some of us thought you were going to get. But maybe you all needed something like this to understand that it's not going to be 70-0, 60-14, things like that.
Right, kind of a wake-up call for us. And sometimes when you get those wake-up calls, it's a bad situation because you just lost a football game, and that's your wake-up call. Luckily for us, we did make that play at the end with Haas on the draw. And, our wake-up call didn't end up being a loss for us, because we started off strong and then, kind of eased off, for whatever reason. And, you can't do that against good teams. You got to keep the hammer down and keep going at them and not give them, any type of hope and any type of breath.
So let's talk a little bit about now as far as what your message was to your team following that game and what it was, because you didn't have them in over the weekend, but you had them in on Monday afterwards. And so what was kind of just the message as you all were coming off that and then obviously going through the bye week?
The message was to realize, hey, guys, we're not invincible. We got to go out and we got to play with great effort, great intensity. We can't take any opponent lightly. We didn't take Denton Ryan lightly. We just basically, we went out there, we started off well, and then we, backed off. And you can't go do that against a really good football team. And we said, hey, look, go watch video. Go watch what you didn't do well. And let's learn from that. Let's take that and let's move on and let's take it into the Brewer week and then into the playoffs, and let's go make sure we're a better football team than we were when we played Denton Ryan.
And I would suspect that's the same for Haas Haney, your quarterback. And again, he had the tough night with the 3 interceptions, but of course he had the big play at the end to win the game. So, and I know he's maybe as tough on himself as anybody else out there, but what do you think he learned about just going through a game like that when it's not going to come as easy as he would like for it to be, and any of us would like
I think he learned, not to force things. Sometimes you have to, take a sack every now and then, or, when you don't see your first initial thing, which you're trying to go to, in the passing game, you got to buy a little bit of time with your legs and maybe even take off and run sometimes, so those are some of the things that we talked to him about. We also got to, we got to get him out of the pocket a little bit more. We were straight drop back most of the time. We've talked about that. We put a few things on this week to where we're going to get him out of the pocket a little bit more this week. To use that down the road, as well.
Kind of like in a boot action, that sort of thing.
Yeah, some bootleg, our dash play that we work on, different things like that.
Okay, so this is game week preparation for Brewer, but last week was obviously the opportunity to kind of review, get some guys well, health-wise, that sort of thing. But what was kind of the focus of last week's bye week?
The big thing was trying to get some people healthy. We've been fighting the injury bug all year. We've been kind of snake bit with injuries all year. We're trying to get some guys healthy, so we gave some guys pretty much the week off. They pretty much worked with Coach Little exclusively. Coach Little would work with them before practice. They would come out and do a few things, and then after school they would come back, work with Coach Little again. So Coach Little was the busiest coach we had last week, trying to get some guys healthy. But then we worked on some fundamentals. We worked on a lot of tackle drills with the defense. Defense worked on a lot of tackling. We got the receivers out early on our jugs machine. For those that don't know what a jugs machine, it's kind of like a pitching machine, but for footballs. And we were firing footballs at them, so they were getting a lot of catches in with the jugs machine. So we were working on a lot of those little things, that play a big part in the game. We had 4 drops in the game. We don't drop a whole lot of footballs. And I told the kids, it kind of reminded me of back in 2012. We had 2 losses in 2012. We had 6 drops in the first loss, and then we had 7 drops in the playoff game that we lost. I said, we can't go drop footballs anymore, especially on 3rd downs and 4th downs, which is where we had some of those drops, I know we had two big ones, one was on a 3rd down, which led to a punt, and then we went for it on a 4th down and had another one that hit us in the hands and dropped it. We had the drop touchdown. We had the drop on the first play of the game. So we were trying to get rid of those drops.
So, and I imagine, too, that drops are kind of a thing that you are both physical as well as mental. So, so when you're using the jugs machine, how does that work in both elements, if you will?
Basically that ball's coming at you pretty hard. So you got to be ready for it. You got to be focused in on making the catch, and then they make the catch, they got to tuck it away. So all those things, it's a stationary drill. But then you go out and run routes later on, so apply the same, techniques.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, because at the end of last week's bye week was the time for the University Interscholastic League for schools to turn in their snapshot enrollment, and Aledo turned in an enrollment number of 2,267 students. Now, that could be right on the 6A cutoff line, because the UIL cutoff for 6A for the last realignment back in 2022 was 2,225 students here. And so, it can always kind of vary here, Robbie, but when you see that number, because you all were even thinking that you might be a little bit higher than the 2,267.
Yeah, when we first opened up this year, we were way higher than that. But we've had a lot of kids leave Aledo ISD for whatever reason, since the beginning of the school year. So our number, we would see it each week. It was kind of dropping. I was like, well, hey, if it keeps dropping, we got a chance to stay 5A. Now, who knows where the number's going to be? Nobody knows. You can't predict where the UIL is going to set that number. There are experts out there that think they know. I've seen one that says that they think the line's going to be cut off at 2280. Another guy said 2270. So both the guys that are out there that are trying to predict this, they've got us staying 5A. But who knows?
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's either going to be an either-or situation for this program when you all start playing football in 2024. You're either going to be one of the largest 5A schools across Texas starting next year, or you're going to be one of the smallest schools in 6A when you all start playing football next year. It's kind of like you're going to have one of the two extreme worlds.
Right, and that's what I was telling people in my interviews during the summer. I was doing an interview at coaching school with Dave Campbell, Texas football, and they were asking me about, the growth of Aledo. And I told them, I said, look, we don't know where the number's going to be. We don't know what our number is. I said, but the way we feel right now is we're probably going to be either one of the largest 5A schools in the state or one of the smallest 6A schools in the state. And, we can't do anything about that. We just got to go with whatever the UIL sets us in.
Sure, and I think you'll at least find out what classification you are in December, because they'll at least, if I remember correctly, that's the time frame when you won't know your districts until realignment next February, but you'll at least know what classification you're going to be
Right,
at.
they've done that the last couple of times. They've come out with, what the number was going to be, so everybody would know, hey, we're going to be a 5A Division II this time. We're going to be a 5A Division I, or we're going to be a 6A. So, they do come out with that, cutoff number so that everybody kind of has an idea of where they're going to be. That helps people sometimes set up their games, their preseason games,
right.
because they know, well, I'm not going to be in the district with these people that are close to me, so I can try to play them, things like that.
Sure, and that helps you too. I mean,
that helps a whole lot, and I'm finding out the difficulties in finding people to play.
Yeah.
I've got 3 people that are lined up. I don't want to tell everybody who they are right now, but we got some games lined up. We're still looking for a scrimmage. I talked with Coach Doty at Stephenville when we scrimmaged them and said, hey, look, we got a possibility of being a 6A. And being a 6A, I probably don't want to scrimmage a 4A next year. And he's already found another scrimmage to replace us.
Right.
And I've talked to another school that was looking. I told him, hey, let's pencil each other down. But he said he doesn't have but one JV and one freshman team. And I said, well, I got to find somebody that has 2 JVs and 2 freshmen. Mm-hmm. If I can find somebody with 2 freshmen, 2 JVs, I may go and would scrimmage someone else.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's a challenge in that. I mean, because this is really the first time you've had to go, roll up your sleeves and start looking for opponents in the next for realignment. What's the greatest challenge besides just dealing with the aura in front of you saying, well, no one wants to play me. But, I mean, what's the real challenge in just trying to put it together an odd district schedule? Because, number one, you don't know how many teams you're going to play because you could be in an 8-team district or you could be in a 9-team district that you have been the last 2 years. And then, secondly, it's just trying to make sure that you get it set up so that everything's distributed evenly.
Well, the 9-team district actually helps you because you only have to find 2.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
But, no, and there I've talked to some coaches that say, Coach, I would play you, but we're already set, so they – some guys got their schedule set real quick. They're basically playing the same people they've been playing, situations like that. But we wanted to try to stay away from the private school this time. And, we did that. We're still going to have Denton Geyer, on the schedule that, he's having a hard time finding jobs. He can't find games.
Right.
But, so I didn't drop him. That's going to be a very tough game again next year because they were kind of young this year, so it's going to be even tougher.
Right. Okay, so let's talk a little bit now, moving on, because obviously Aledo has not only clinched a playoff berth, but it's also clinched the district championship, so which means that you all are going to be the number 1 seed, and you're going to open up the playoffs a week from Thursday, November 9th, at home against Colleen Shoemaker. That'll be at Tim Buchanan Stadium. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about, because this is a repeat game from last year's by-district round against Shoemaker, a game that you won 38-0 last year. But we were talking before we went on the air about, seems like that's a team that's starting to get healthy. And, of course, talk about not only them, and we'll get to Brewer here in a minute, but talk about Shoemaker and the fact that what they're experiencing. And then secondly, just the philosophy of playing that by-district game on a Thursday night because so many other games are on Friday and Saturday.
Right. Number one, Shoemaker last year, when we played Shoemaker, we was like, hey, this is the best first-round opponent that we have had in a long time. And same deal it's going to be this year. They're going to be a really tough football team. They got a lot of kids back from last year. I believe it's 7 of their offensive starters from last year back. They got 4 back on defense. So they're going to be a real similar team from what we saw last year. It's not going to be an easy one. And the Thursday deal, that's just, I went with it because it's kind of been something that we've done here recently. The thought process behind, hey, let's get that first game on Thursday is it gives your guys another day of rest going into the second round. So, we wanted to do that. The Shoemaker coach wanted to play on Thursday, and because we did it last year, and I said, you know what, I was considering going on Friday, but you want to play on Thursday, and that's what we've been doing here for I don't know how many years in a row we've done it.
Yeah, it's been a long one.
But so I just stuck with the tradition of doing the first game on Thursday, kept it that way, on simplicity basically, and then some of the things that I'm learning as first-year head coach is you got to have playoff sites lined up weeks in advance. And I've been calling, I've been in contact with Coach Darden at Lubbock Cooper because that would probably be our second-round opponent. if we're fortunate enough to beat Shoemaker, and we've been looking for a playoff site, and it's been difficult because we call Abilene and we're 8th on the list for Shotwell.
Oh, okay.
And you call Sweetwater and you're 3rd on the list for Sweetwater. So it's hard to find a spot.
Yeah, unbelievable. Okay, but in the meantime, we know where we're playing this coming Friday night. That's
right.
over at White Settlement at Brewer High School against the Bears. And of course, they've been eliminated from playoff contention. They're 3-6 going into this, and we don't want to dismiss anything about this because obviously there's a lot of things on the line. You want to keep executing at a high level. There's obviously the idea of trying to finish this regular season at 10-0. They want to try and knock you guys off because it's their rivalry game with you guys. And so just what's been your approach with getting ready for the Bears this coming Friday?
We've talked about, hey, look, we got to take care of Brewer first. We can't, we just talked about Shoemaker. We can't worry about Shoemaker. We can't go look at Shoemaker. Brewer is a very talented football team. They got all the makings of being a quality playoff opponent. They have big, huge offensive linemen. They have big physical defensive linemen. And then you look over at their skill kids. They got as good a skill kids as anybody that we played. So they have all the makings of a really good football team. They just have had, the unfortunate, being in a really good district.
And their quarterback Clark, who is kind of like where it all goes with him. He's averaging about 6 yards per carry. He's probably their leading ball carrier. But this is also a pretty good test though for your defense because when you get to the playoffs, it's going to be about number one, being able to run the football, and then number two, being able to stop the run. So this is maybe kind of a nice way to transition it because you're going to go against a team that's, basically 65-35 run to pass.
Yeah, and they've got a really good defense, so it's going to be a big test for our offense to get back rolling against a good defense. And then, like you said, we got to be able to stop the run, and that's probably what they do best is run the football. So, we got to go and we got to go stop the run. They got a really good running back there, and of course their quarterback. They do a lot of read plays, what we call down quarterback power read. They do a lot of that, and they do a lot of just quarterback design runs. So, and when you do a lot of quarterback design runs, it gets you an extra blocker because your running back, the guy that you're normally handing the ball off to, he's out there blocking for him. So it can create some problems for us.
And then what do you want to see just from both sides of the football for your team? Since you've had the week off, I would suspect you obviously want to see if you can avoid any kind of rust at the beginning, but it might be unavoidable. So
yeah.
What do you want to see, though?
I want to see our offensive line go out there and be dominant like they've been earlier in the year. We weren't as dominant in our last game with our offensive line. I want those guys to challenge themselves and go out and be, the physical dominant force that we're used to our offensive lines being. And the same with our defensive line. Our defensive line needs to whip them up front and control the line of scrimmage and keep them from running the football.
And more continued progress from Carson Dempsey, just the way that he's been coming back. What have you seen from him?
He's good. He's 100%. He's rolling, and that guy's going to be a force to be reckoned with during the playoffs, hopefully.
Okay, and then just an update on Cooper Cyphers because he's been out with a hand injury, and so what's the latest on him?
I haven't gotten a recent update on him. It's going to be still a few weeks before he's even considered to be able to play, I believe. It's up to whatever his doctor lets us do.
All right. Coach, always appreciate the time, and we'll look forward to watching you guys in the regular season finale this coming Friday night over at White Settlement. Good luck to you on Friday.
Thank you. We're going to have those sophomores come up here.
Absolutely, yeah. We're going to have the super sophomores come. And then the Bearcats on KTFW 92.1 pregame show is at 6:30. Then the kickoff is at 7 o'clock with yours truly, Kyle Hicks, Mercedes Meyer, the Deacon running the stats, and Hayden Posey is our engineer. On the other side of this break, the super sophomores, the future of Aledo football will be with us. That'll be wide receiver Kaydon Finley and running back Ray Gullory. Stick around. We'll be right back after this timeout.
Power pistol formation as Haas Haney is at quarterback. Brett Turner is the fullback. Double tight end, single receivers either side. And it'll be a Haney run. Tries to break outside, has room, 25, cuts it up the middle. First down to the 25, and he slides down to the 17-yard line. And that should do it.
And that's when the Bearcats were able to put away that 25-19 victory against Denton Ryan, and they won the District 3-5A championship. Welcome back here to the Aledo Coaches Show podcast here on 92.1 Hank FM. Kevin Lonnquist. It's brought to you by H5 Sports Barn. H5 Sports Barn and Nye Physio and Performance can help unlock your athletic potential and elevate your game like the Aledo Bearcats. With expert sports physical therapy, tailored recovery plans, and top-notch sports performance training. H5 Sports Barn, proud supporters of the Aledo Bearcats. Okay, let's take a look at the Aledo Alumni Report. Of course, as we're taping this podcast, the Rangers are in the World Series and playing Game 3 at the recording of this game and out in Arizona. And Aledo alumni Cody Bradford is on the Rangers roster. He pitched in Game 1 on Friday night, the one the Rangers rallied to win 6-5 in 11 innings, pitched one perfect inning in that game, opening game of the World Series. He has a sparkling 1.35 ERA in this postseason, so congratulations to him. Then a couple of other football players that are doing their thing. Quarterback Brayton Fowler-Nicolosi over at Colorado State throwing for nearly 2,500 yards and 16 touchdowns this year. And then the offensive lineman Isaac Sohn, who was with this state championship team last year. This one to my far left, Kaydon Finley knows who he was. He's at the University of North Texas. He's going through his redshirt freshman year. Now, a couple things to update you on as far as the other sports are concerned. The volleyball team in the playoffs tonight, they were Monday night against Northside. That game was being played over at Castleberry High School. We understand the volleyball team won, so they're going to move on to the area round. And then, just a reminder that the cross-country teams, the girls, which won the regional championship over at May Simmons Park back on the 23rd, and the boys who finished 4th, they are running this coming Friday at Old Settlers Park in Round Rock. That'll start Friday morning. The girls will run at 8:30. The boys will be at 9:10. And if everything goes well, we hope to have Coach Mike Pinkerton and a couple of runners on this podcast a week from tonight. Okay, so let's get going with our second segment because it is the future of the Aledo football program. These are super stud sophomores. To my far left is wide receiver Kaydon Finley. To my immediate left is running back Ray Gullory. Give it up for these two young men, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so guys, it's real easy moving on to play varsity football, right? I mean, because both of you all played the varsity game at the freshman level. But I first of all want to ask you both because, you know, just playing at the varsity level and the speed. And I want to ask you just, this is going back to last year, and then we can talk about making the transition in this year. What did you all learn about just adjusting your games? Because you were coming from 8th grade, and you immediately make the vault all the way up to the varsity game, Kaydon. Yes, so how challenging was that, and what did you have to do to kind of get acclimated with that?
Really? It's really different from middle school football. So I just learned from the older guys, Coach Jones and Coach Buck. Coach Jones was the offensive coordinator last year, so he helped me a lot. Jalen Pope helped me a lot. So it was really just a learning process from the beginning of the season, and I was just learning the whole year last year. So it was a great experience last year for sure.
Okay, then Ray, for you, because you played last year at Mansfield Lake Ridge, and so just even so, regardless of where you were, what was the challenge of making that move? And you had a productive season. You ran for over 700 yards. Mm-hmm. But what was the challenge of just making that adjustment so that you could perform at that level?
The challenge was it was mental, honestly. Watching film, being patient, just dedicating my game to what's going on now instead of worry about the long term. Like, worry about Duncanville, DeSoto. I had a tough schedule, but taking it week by week and listening to my coaches at Lake Ridge and just focusing on what I got now, that really helped.
Yeah, I was going to say, since you did play two programs that won state titles last year, what was that like going against Duncanville and DeSoto?
Honestly, I looked at it as an opportunity. I scored on one of the best teams in the district. I mean, I must be doing something great.
Yeah, I guess so. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about health-wise. You guys have gone through some dings this year. Physically, where are you at right now, Kaydon?
I'm 100% right now. Sure, yes, sir.
All right, and then for you, I know you had the little ankle issue. You were all the way through that, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. So, all right, so let's just talk about a little bit about, okay, so what I did want to ask you a little bit about, Ray, just moving in from Mansfield from Lake Ridge High School, the key to the transition. What was that like? Just you go from an offense that was pretty productive at Lake Ridge to this offense where it's kind of next level, if you will. And so when you got here in, I think it was January, what was it like just understanding what were going to be the expectations and then just performing at and making sure that you could kind of keep things rolling for yourself and being as productive as you possibly could?
Well, honestly, I grew up like playing Pee Wee football. I always been in the winter program, so I knew what it took. But I knew this transfer, it was like very different because I'm coming from a program that's really not used to winning. And a lot of people on the team mindset was just stick to being, what's the word, being
Complacent.
complacent and they wanted everything for themselves. They really weren't worried about the team. And transferring to Aledo, it's all about Aledo, the program. It's about the team, not just about you.
Was it eye-opening for you to walk in here because of a program that's done what it has done, and you've seen it from the outside, but to now get into the middle of it? What was it like for you just kind of understanding all the nuances inside?
It was very different. I mean, when I first walked into the locker room, I felt different because they've been playing football since December, and I was done a long time ago. So just walking in, the vibe was just different. I knew that I was going to have to work to be up there with them guys.
Okay. Kaydon, for you this year, I know it's been up and down for you a little bit in terms of just receptions. You had the big 75-yard touchdown reception a few weeks back, but what's it been key for you this year, and what have you learned about your game and things that you want to try and excel, that you worked on during the bye week that you think can help you moving forward?
Yes, sir. So during the bye week, I'm just trying to focus on being a good teammate, getting my blocks from my running backs and my quarterbacks, and just becoming like a better teammate.
And, one thing that Coach Jones was mentioning on the first segment was that you had the key block,
Yes,
and you had the pancake block that sprung Haas on the game-winning touchdown run. And one thing that receivers here are asked to do is block, and you've understood that since you've been a part of this, but you have to appreciate that even more, and do you understand the value of that now more and more every day?
Yes, sir. It's definitely, I love blocking. I just love, just going out there, because I already know my boys Haas and Ray going to score every time. So, when I go out there, I just have trust, and I know if I get my block, they're going to do their thing. So it's really fun.
Okay, so speaking of receiving, so Ray, your first play at Aledo is a little swing-out pass against Parish Episcopal, and boom, 75 yards. Yeah. But I think the one play that we've talked about was the 34-yard touchdown reception against Centennial a couple of weeks back. Mm-hmm. And so, it's one thing to be a running back and to be a ball carrier that's going to be productive, but it's another thing to be a threat in the receiving game. Just talk about what you've worked on to become a dual threat, both when you're behind the quarterback, or if you're split out, or if they're going to use you as a receiver.
Well, my freshman year, I was training with Zombie, and I trained for slot a lot because I really didn't know what position I was going to play my freshman year, because I wanted to play quarterback, I wanted to play running back, I wanted to play receiver. But I was training receiver basically all my life, and I knew I got hands, and just being in the backfield, being able to come out of the backfield and having a linebacker trying to guard me, I mean, I'm taking me over that linebacker every day.
Okay, and let's just ask you about, I want to ask you, because that 34-yard touchdown pass reception against Centennial, that's not an easy catch. So just take us through what you remember on that play.
All I remember is I come out the backfield, I see the linebacker, he thought I was going to do a flare out, and he bit down, so I just knew I had to go. I took off, and I saw the ball in the air. As I'm looking in the air, it's like the stadium light was hitting with the ball. It's blending in, so I'm just running. And then I saw the ball, and it fell right into my bucket.
There you go. And Kaydon, I want to ask you a little bit about just even if it's on a deep pass, if it's a post route, or if it's just something on the sideline, or even if it's just a hitch and go, catch and run, what's the key for you in terms of, is it the vision? Is it just the route running that can spring it? Or what do you think what do you think it takes to be a successful receiver in your mind?
Really just your jump off the ball. Like the cornerback doesn't know what you're doing, so really like your first step and really your route running is the most important part.
Okay, so are there keys though what you're looking at? I mean, because one thing they talk about with corners, or if there's a safety over the top, about watching their hips and how they play that. So what are things that you look for from them physically that'll be a key that you say, if I do this, I'm going to get to the inside of him, or I'm going to beat him off the line?
Yes, sir. On run plays, sometimes I'll jump off the ball to see where their hips are going, and then on pass plays, I'll use that same jump, and then they'll go the same way. And so if the run play is inside, then I'll jump outside to see where their hips are, and then I'll get an inside release. So if it's like a post or something, I'll jump that way so I can get a better release inside. Because usually if it's man and you make a cut outside, then he's going to go outside. So you have an easier release on the inside. So you just stack them and then get on top.
Okay, so the fun thing, too, because last week I understand you guys had the jug, as you heard Coach was talking about you all going through the jugs.
Oh, yes, sir.
So what was that like going through? And you were part of that, too, right?
Nah, I ain't part of it. I got hands.
Okay.
My hands official.
Yeah, okay, so let me ask you about just, the jugs, because those things are coming in as, baseballs at 95 miles an hour. I'm probably exaggerating that, but still. But they're coming in pretty hard. So what's the challenge in just understanding that drill? Because what can it do for you in future games?
Nah, it's crazy. Like, the ball's just coming in. It's faster on the jugs and in game. So, like, you really just stand in front, and then before you can even blink, the ball's right there. So it definitely prepares you for games later on, especially when you're catching and waking up at even earlier to come to practice, show up for practice. And it's really just preparing you for the week ahead, especially because Hoss has an arm, so you better be ready for that ball. So a jugs prepare you.
All right.
I like it, yes, sir.
All right, so let's bring you all up to speed. Okay, so these guys are 2026 recruits. They are both national 100 recruits, and whatever is your recruiting service of choice, whether that's going to be On3 or 247 or Rivals or whatever. Now, let's just give you an indication of where these offers are. With more to come on these guys. For Kaydon, he's got several from such as where his father was at, the University of Texas, TCU, Arkansas. Ray, you have Texas, Oklahoma, Georgia, and USC. That's it. That's all these. That's all who have offered you guys, and nobody else. But I want to ask you, in terms of just both of you handling this, because you still got 2 years to decide about what this is all going to be. Kaydon, I want to ask you just how you've handled this because of all the attention and just dealing with it, because lots of schools, lots of DMs, lots of text messages, and just what's been vital for you to kind of keep that in its place.
Really, I just don't even think about it. Like, I'll be happy when a coach calls me. I'll be excited, but then when it's time to practice with your team, you just gotta practice. You don't have to think about all that, because really, if you let it get to you, then you're just gonna be a selfish player. And then if you're a selfish player, then you're not gonna do the best for your teammates. So really, I just put it to the side, like when I'm around my team, and I just try to be the best person, and I don't let it get to me.
And then for you, Ray, I mean, I know that there was a lot of talk about you as a freshman, and for you as well as Kaydon, but for you just handling it, what's been the key for you to just kind of keep things in its perspective when there's so much in front of you?
Honestly, I mean, I wake up in the same predicament every day, so I know that the offers, they don't really mean nothing. I mean, it's a great opportunity to have, but right now I'm still I wake up, I'm getting ready for school like a regular person, and so I live like a regular person. I don't let the offers get to me, make me a big head, make me go Hollywood on my friends or nothing like that.
Okay, so Kaydon, I just, beyond what you've said, is there anything else you think you've learned from this process and how to discriminate what's true and what's not?
Really just to be a team person, be a team player. Yeah.
And then for you, Ray.
Okay, ask the question.
I just going to ask you, what do you think is beyond what you've shared about just what else do you think you've learned about this process just from dealing with coaches and then just attention and things like that? Because you're going to get a lot of things in social media from Twitterverse, from fans, tweeting at you or whatever. But what do you think you've learned just how to deal with this and what's real and what's not?
Honestly, I learned just to I learned a lot. I mean, it's a lot of people who they love you sometimes and they hate you sometimes. It depends on what school you pick. Like, you post a certain school, you're gonna have some people that's disliking and hating and stuff like that.
Fans are going crazy as we're taping this because the Rangers just hit a 2-run shot. But go ahead. And finish.
Honestly, I say I learned just love is love. I mean, enough fans not gonna help me pick where love is. I mean, it's all about the coaches, the people that's in the program helping me buy into it.
Yep. And it's going to be about the relationships you deal with the coaches. I mean, have you guys even taken any trips to go watch any teams play this coming, or have you all watched any games on Saturday, gone somewhere? Where have you been? Where have you gone, Kaydon?
I've been to Baylor. I was at Baylor this past weekend, and then I went earlier in the season. I've been at TCU. I went to the Texas-Oklahoma game also, and then I also went down to Houston to watch the game.
When Texas played Houston?
Oh, no, when Texas played Oklahoma.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yes,
okay, and then for you, Ray, where have you been?
I've been to Texas, OU, TCU, and I think that's it. But I got one coming up. I'm going to USC this weekend.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Against Washington.
Okay, well, that's kind of an important game. That'll be kind of fun to watch that. And
Yes,
so,
sir.
so we're going into the finale this week again, the regular season finale this week against Brewer. This is a big rivalry for, as you guys know, this. You're about to find out this week what that's all about with Brewer. You kind of picked up on that last year.
Yes, sir.
But let's just talk about going into this finale, because even though all the work is done per se, winning the district championship, you got the top seed, that sort of things. What are the things that you want to see with yourselves going into this finale with the Bears? Kaydon, we'll start with you.
I low-key just want to use this game as to rust all the dust off before we go into playoffs, because once it's playoff time, it's go time. Because, playoffs, you lose, you go home, and I don't want to go home. So I'm going to use this game as preparation for the playoffs for Shoemaker when we play them at home. And, yeah, sir.
Okay, and then for Ray, I mean, I know your status for Friday might be a little bit up in the air, but even so, what's going to be for you in terms of just what you want to try and accomplish, even if it's not playing, but what do you want to try and get out of this week of work for yourself personally?
Get the mindset right. Make sure everything's sharp, getting ready to go to playoffs when it's all on the line. Just being mentally ready.
All right, and then the playoffs, I mean, you won it last year. You were part of a championship team last year, but for you, Ray, have you asked other guys, what did it take to win it, and then just experiencing that, because you made the comment, guys were playing, this team was playing in December and your season was over in November, first week of November. What have you talked to guys about what it takes to play at this level and to keep playing that?
I talked to a lot. I talked to Jaden. I talked to BJ Allen about stuff. I talked to a few people, asking them about what's going on in the playoffs, how do you stay focused and deal with injuries and just stuff like that. I mean, I talked to BJ a lot, and he helped me.
Most important thing, are you all having fun playing?
Oh, yes, sir.
Yes,
I have fun. At practice, waking up in the mornings, it doesn't really bother me because I know I get to go out there with my brothers and play football, and that's the best thing on this planet.
And then for you?
I love the practice because, you just get to talk to your teammates, during practice. You just talk about what's going on during the week and stuff like that. But then when it's Friday, it's go time.
All right, there you go. Okay, so this is the future of Aledo Bearcats football. These are two sophomores that will be seeing a lot of, not only for as long as this season hopes, and of course everyone hopes that's going to be the Friday before Christmas, that would be the state championship game, but for 2024 and 2025. To my immediate left is running back Ray Gullory. To my far left is wide receiver Kaydon Finley. Folks, let them know how much you enjoyed having them out here tonight. All right, and so one quick thing on the volleyball team, which we did tell you earlier, they did beat Northside tonight by scores of 25-2, 25-9, 25-10. And we should also let you know that the Aledo Regiment, which plays my favorite song, but I'll get into that another time, made it to state. So this is the third straight year that they've made it down to the state competition. That's a really good band, the Aledo Regiment. And we want to thank you all for being here. Just a reminder that this podcast is being brought to you by H5 Sports Barn. H5 Sports Barn and Knife Physio and Performance can help unlock your athletic potential and elevate your game like the Aledo Bearcats. With expert sports physical therapy, tailored recovery plans, and top-notch sports performance training. H5 Sports Barn, proud supporters of the Aledo Bearcats. Bearcats play the 2023 finale this coming Friday over in White Settlement against the Brewer Bears. 6:30 is the pregame show on 92.1 Hank FM, and then the kickoff at 7 o'clock. And then we'll be back here next week for the Bearcats as they get ready to take on Colleen Shoemaker in the Region 1 5A Division I playoff round. Lots to look forward to, and we'll obviously have a breakdown of what happened at the state cross-country meet, which will be on Friday. I'm Kevin Lonnquist. We'll talk to you all Friday night when the Bearcats take on their arch-rival Bears. Have a good week, everybody. So long from Jake's.
Thanks for listening to the Aledo Bearcats Coaches Show podcast, brought to you by H5 Sports Barn in Aledo, with Bearcats head coach Robby Jones and the voice of the Bearcats, Kevin Lonnquist. Please like and subscribe to this podcast and tell a friend. You're also welcome to join us in person every Monday night at 7 from the new Jake's Burgers, 601 FM 1187 in Aledo. And then listen to every Aledo Bearcats game, home and away, live on 92.1 Hank FM, on the free 92.1 Hank FM app, or online at 921hankfm.com. The Aledo Coaches Show podcast is a production of Real Country, Hank FM.